webinar planned for you today. At the same time, it's a really important webinar. I do plan on it taking about 45 minutes. I know we have an hour reserved for today. I will try to shorten it, a little bit, but we do have a lot to cover, so I'm pretty sure we definitely will take the 45 minutes to talk about, what this important user interface, or it's also called the new UI. You may have seen it referred to as that. My name is Misty Corns. I'm actually the technical sales support manager and a solution specialist at BeyondPay. I also have Liz McNeil. She's our marketing manager on with me. Liz, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
So Liz is actually going to try to keep me in line as far as staying on track with time. I like to talk a lot, so she's got a big job. She's also going to help me with some questions. Hopefully I get lots of questions from you guys. But before I actually get into the presentation today, just a couple little housekeeping items. I know you guys are busy. We know you guys have a lot on your plate. I want to just thank you for joining today. As I started off with, this is a really important topic. It's going to affect you and your employees, your managers. So we really do appreciate, you jumping on with us today. And I do intend to make really good use of your time. So thank you. And I also want this to be interesting. I want you to take away from this webinar, or walk away from this webinar, learning something. So type in a question, at least one question in the chat window. Try to stump me even if you can, And, Liz is going to bring those questions up at the end. I'm going to address all the questions, and so we'll definitely type those questions in for us. But just a little bit before we get into the actual system today, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about, if you will. So, like, why this new UI? If you've been on these webinars that we've done related to the new UI, we kind of talk about the why a good bit. So we're going to talk more about that. We're also going to talk about the when. So when is this going to really affect you? We're going to get into the system. We're going to, kind of play around with the system. You'll get a really good idea of what the differences were or are with the new UI from the old UI, or the classic is what we're now calling the old UI. We're also going to talk about, like, what are your next steps? What do you need to do to start using this? And of course, those questions that that Liz is gonna ask me, that you guys put in that chat window. But at the end of this webinar, you guys are going to be able to see how much easier the system is to use, how much quicker you can do the things that you guys need to do on a regular basis. You as managers, as admins, but you're also going to see how it's going to help your employees. So that's my goal, is to show you this new UI and how easy and quick it is. You're also going to get kind of a bonus feature on this webinar. You're actually going to get an idea of how you can use the new UI to help you manage, or get the insight that you need. We're calling it the people analytics, getting a visual element to your data. So we're going to get into that. So, why the new UI? Really what it comes down to is you as administrators, your employees have certain things, your managers have certain things that you need to do in the system. And you need to be able to do it quick, and you need to be able to do it easy, so that you can get back to your, what you were hired for, what your employees were hired for. So spend less time in a system and more time with your employees, or have your employees spend less time in a system and more doing the job that you hired them to do. And a few things that we've done with this new UI to help with this is it's now responsive. And what that means is that regardless of the type of device that you're using, whether you're on a mobile app, whether you're on a tablet or a computer, it doesn't really matter because the system's going to resize based on the size of that device. You're also going to see that the system's much easier to use. Because it's more intuitive, much easier to use, you guys are going to spend less time answering questions or training employees on how the system, how the employees should be interacting or could, what button they need to click on or where they need to go to find something. Okay, the system's also been, certain things have been moved around a little bit to give, that user it's easier to click to get to things. Okay, you're going to see that pretty quickly once we get into the system. And then, again, you as admins or managers are going to get that insight into what's happening with your data. Yeah, you're going to get your reports that you're used to, but we've taken it further than just a report. We're giving you charts and graphs to give you that insight. Okay, so that's really the why of why this new UI. So now let's get into the when. So we've been talking about the new UI for more than a year now. And we've talked about ways that you could roll it out and, early adopters and those kinds of things. But now we're kind of down to a date, kind of in the sand, if you will. So the April the 30th of this year is when we need all employees and all users, including admins and managers, to use the new UI. Okay, so we are going to be sending out an email later on this week with some other dates just to put on your calendar to be aware of. But in the meantime, you guys, definitely go to our website. Right on our website, and this slide we're looking at right now is our website. Right on our website in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a new UI link. Click on that. You could actually go ahead and just enter some basic information. Let us know you want to go ahead and start using this new UI. And there's some reasons behind going ahead and doing this, which we'll cover when we get into the system. But I do recommend go ahead and start the process. For some companies, there's some configuration that's already been done to roll out the new UI. For other companies, we might need to do some configuration around workflows and things like that. So highly recommend going ahead and starting to use this. So go to the website and enter that basic information and we'll contact you. You can also email your CSR and they can definitely get things rolling also. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get into the system. I'm just gonna come out of this presentation for just a second. I'm gonna flip over to a browser. So what I'm going to be logging into today is actually a demo company. And this demo company, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as Kathy. Kathy is a company administrator. Okay, she's going to have lots of access and lots of security rights. In this demo company, what Kathy has access to, as well as the employee that I'll log into in a few minutes, their access may not be exactly, very likely is not going to be exactly like yours. So just keep in mind that, if there's something that catches your attention as far as that you don't currently use, let us know. You let your CSR know. We can talk to you a little bit more about those things. But at the same time, keep in mind, my view in this demo company is definitely different than probably what you see, but the fundamentals of how the new UI works is exactly the same as what I'm going to present to you today, okay? All right, so what I want to start with is probably the obvious. So what we're looking at right now is the new UI. But if you've not started the transition to the new UI at all, it probably looks like a brand new system because you don't have your drop downs at the top, okay? And you also probably don't have the hamburger menu on the left-hand side of the screen here that I'm kind of hovering over. And you don't have all these tabs going across the top right here. And also your dashboard right here looks probably nothing like this. Actually, no, it doesn't look like this. So over here on the right, notice it looks like a little ribbon. This is what we call the toggle button. And this button is one of the reasons that I say definitely go ahead and start using the new UI now, because up until April the 30th, you will have the ability to toggle between the old UI and the new UI. So when I click this back to classic, now you have your drop downs that you're used to seeing in the old UI. Okay, so this probably looks what a lot of people are familiar with. Some companies have already rolled out the hamburger menu, so they don't have the drop downs here across the top. But there's so much more to the new UI than just converting to the hamburger menu. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle back to the new look. Okay, so what we found is that companies that are early adopters of the new UI, and about 65% of our customers are already 100% rolled out with the new UI. But what we found is that companies eventually don't even use this toggle back to classic because the new UI is so much better. So, but that definitely does and can give you that comfort to get back to the way you're used to using it up to the 30th of April. All right, so let's kind of move along here and talk about some differences. So you still have your bell item up here in the top right-hand corner. This is where you can do your self-service. So if you're an employee, when you submit a time off request, your manager is going to get a bell item for where they would go to approve that time off request. Or if a timesheet's submitted, your manager might be getting those timesheet submissions in the bell item. And so if I click into this bell item, here you have some manager or admin self-service tasks that I need to take care of. So this is getting a little bit into that manager and admin interaction with the system, making things easier for you guys to approve a time off request. When I click on that option on the left, notice now I can still view time off accounts. If I click on this, it opens up those time off accounts. I could open the timesheet. It would bring me right into that timesheet. I can view anybody else that has the day off scheduled. And then you still have your approve and reject options at the bottom of the screen. You can also still approve and reject, you know, in mass quantities. So I just highlighted 2 HR actions. Now I can approve both of those at once if I wanted to. So you still have those options for my to-do items. My notifications, any emails that you get to your regular email box, your Google or Outlook, those also come into the system. So that's what my notifications are. Now my checklist, so when you hire a new employee, those new employees have certain things that they need to do. As administrators, maybe you have certain things that you need to do for those employees also, for those new employees. So those items would be under my checklist. So those are some things that can show up in the bell item with the new UI. Okay, so I'm just clicking the back button to get back to the last screen I was on. Now, feedback has always kind of been here, but just want to, cover it since we're kind of talking about this. So the feedback is where you could upload, information that, you need it to be secure. You don't want to send through email. Feedback generally is addressed or used most often during implementation, or if your CSR asks you to send something through feedback, this is where you can do that at. Okay, so kind of moving over, I mentioned those drop downs. You saw those drop downs when I went back to the classic. So those drop downs have now been moved under the hamburger menu. So when I click the hamburger menu here, we have reorganized how things show up under the hamburger menu. So what I mean by that is you have some icons here. The first icon is your favorites, and your favorites is really exactly the same thing as the start widget right here on my dashboard. So the idea behind the start widget or your favorites is to configure your favorites to take you to, just with a click of a link. So if I hover over payroll, you'll see I've got process payroll as one of my options here. In a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the long way to get to process payroll in the new UI. Because you're processing payroll on a regular basis, maybe you add that as a shortcut here. So now you don't have to come over into the hamburger menu. Now you just click on this little icon, and now you click this button. It takes you right to those payrolls that you can process. Okay, so configure your favorites is here. You can also configure your favorites here. Okay, and what is showing up right here on the dashboard, the start widget or favorites widget, is showing up here because there's a new profile with the new UI. It's called New UI Dashboard Profile. Okay, and you can configure these dashboards based on that profile and then assign that profile to the individual user. So in this case, I've got Kathy's favorites on her dashboard. Okay. All right, so kind of moving over here, we've got another icon for my information or my info. So this is related to myself. If I wanted to look at my pay, I could do that. I could go into pay history here and look at my pay statements. But I'm going to scroll down right here on my dashboard. I could also do it right here. I could click on View Pay History right on this dashboard and take a look at my pay statement. Okay, so of course I could come under the hamburger menu. I could go and go this, what I call the long way, and open those pay statements like I just showed you. But why not make it easy? Why not make it easy on the employee or the admin or whoever wants to see this and have this window for my pay? Okay, that new UI dashboard profile that I was referring to, you also configure which one of these windows are showing here. Okay, so if I wanted to request time off as an employee, I could come up here to my time off, request, but why not right from this accruals balances widget or window? Why not do it from here? And all you have to do with the new UI, click on these words, accrual balances. It's a hyperlink. Once I click on that, and I apologize, my internet is a little slow today. But anyway, so right from this screen, I can see my balances. I can see even more information about my vacation or sick or whatever types of time off that you're tracking at your company, and I can just request it right on this screen. And your company may or may not be using this calendar. If you're not, you could be. This calendar allows you to set like blackout days and things like that. Show the employee which days that they've already got scheduled off or which days they've already requested. So all of that's available right here. Okay, but start the request, submit the request, and then it would appear in the bell item for the manager of that employee or the admin or whoever should be approving that. So I'm just going to click the back button and get back to my last screen. Okay, so now kind of just moving on a little bit. So these are my information links. So anything I typically would do or have access to do would show up here on myself. Now, if I'm responsible for managing an employee, I would want to go over to the double person icon. So these are my employees and the things that I can do on those employees. So if I wanted to go in and look at timesheets, I could go the long way, or I could come over here to my start widget, hover over my links, and now here's all timesheets. Okay, again, just making it easier to get to the things that I'm using the most often. Okay, and process payroll. I mentioned that I would go through this. So payroll, process payroll, exactly the same thing as this, process payroll. All right, and so related to the some webinars that we're going to be doing coming up. So I'm actually going to be doing some recordings, some trainings, short recordings and trainings on how to do certain things within the system and configuring the dashboard as well as the start or favorites window. I'm going to also be doing some webinars on that. So stay tuned for that. And you can find that webinar on our website, just so you guys know, or that recording on our website. All right, so so the My Team tab, again, this is what you're doing for your employees. If I wanted to look at an employee's account, I could come right here and go to employee information, but there's an even easier way to get to an employee information. I can come up to this search box and type in Michael or whatever the employee's name is or their employee ID, and it's going to open up that employee. I could click on the employee and it would bring me right into that employee's account, but maybe there's something really specific on Michael that I want to see. I've got some quick links here. So here I can quickly get to information on Michael based on these quick links. Okay, if I wanted to go to his timesheet, click this. If I want to look at his pay statement, I can click this. All right, and you can also use this search option here for really anything in the system, anything that's in these drop downs. So if I wanted to do time off request, here's my time off request. If I wanted to look at the time off calendar, here's the time off calendar. Okay, and then any recent searches that you've done is going to show up here. All right. Okay, so let's get into some of the analytics and admin and manager self-service that I mentioned I was gonna talk with you about. So we've talked a little bit about this home screen. I'm just going to X this to close that window out. We've talked a little bit about this home tab, but really what the home tab is quick access to commonly accessed features. That's really what the home page is. These tabs, not including this My Dashboard, these other tabs here are module-based tabs. So depending on what your company is using as far as functionality in the system, you may or may not have access to all of these tabs. You can also limit in security what shows up for different types of users. So the My Dashboard tab here is where you can have really kind of your favorites, your favorite insight charts. Okay, we're going to get back into this tab in a few minutes, but I want to start with kind of talking about the charts and how they work from the time module tab here. So if you're using time and attendance within Workforce Ready, you could also be using, if you're not already, what we call exceptions. So exceptions help you track your attendance. An example of that is this chart here. Okay, this chart originated from a exceptions time report. Okay, and this chart is drillable. So I'm looking at, I've got 39 instances of employees leaving early. I've got 43 instances of employees being late. That's, maybe these tardies I want to drill down into and see a little bit more detail about this, because this is a big red flag. I'm actually clicking on that chart that said 43, and it opens up a report. So this report now is giving me my data. You can see, I can see my data here. You can also see I've got some additional charts to give me more insight into the data that I'm seeing here. So right at the start here, you can see the exceptions by employee chart that I built. I can see that Earl and Daryl are my biggest issues with being late. And I can even see the days that they're late here. Okay. And if I wanted to drill down even further, maybe I want to see what's happening really more granular with Earl. I could actually continue to drill down into these charts. And now I can see, hey, you know what? Earl really has an overall attendance problem. He's late every day pretty much of the week. I really need to sit down and talk to Earl about his attendance. So every chart, if you think about every report that you use in Workforce Ready, and you think about about that report and how if you could get this more insight into that report to give you this kind of data, how much it would help you make really business decisions or management decisions, then what we're going to help you with during implementing of the new UI is to build out those charts using those reports that you use every day. Okay. Not just time reports, not just payroll reports, any module that you're currently using in the system, we can build these kinds of charts based on those reports that you're using. Okay, so I'll just go back. I'm going to click on the icon to go back to my dashboard here. And I want to go over to the payroll tab here. Just one more example before I actually get into the system to build a chart and add a chart to a dashboard with you. So this payroll tab here is giving me insight into what's happening with my payrolls for this year. This is a chart that's giving me insight into my gross payrolls for last year. Okay, you can also get labor distribution details. Again, just like I did with the drilling down for the exceptions report, I could also drill down into the labor, or really any of these charts, drill down deeper into looking and getting more insight into what's happening if I need to. All right, and these dashboards, while I've got this saved payroll dashboard, you can have multiple different views of this one module payroll dashboard. So if I go over to my dashboard, these are my favorite charts for every module that I use. And my previous life, I was in HR, so compliance you know, definitely is at my heart. And I've got a dashboard for compliance. You know, salaries and jobs and paying employees fairly now is a big topic. I want to make sure that I'm doing that. I can do that with these charts I can do that with the data that's already in the system by building a chart, and I don't even have to look at that data unless I choose to. Maybe I want to see, you know, what's happening from the manager side. I want to look at that manager dashboard and see what are some things that they still have maybe outstanding to take care of. So, you know, maybe I'm using HR and I want to take a look at, you know, some insight into certifications. Maybe there's some expired certifications that I just want to, you know, or I want to make sure that we're nowhere close to having some expired certifications. So, you know, again, these dashboards are really intended to use to give you the charts to help you analyze what's happening within Workforce Ready, so that, again, you're not having to look at a lot of data, but you're still getting that insight. Okay, so now let's build a chart. Let's build a chart from a basic report, and then we'll add it to this dashboard. So I'm going to go through everything the long way, just so you can see how easy it is. So I'm going to go to the hamburger menu, and I'm going to go to my double person icon because I want an employee report. I'm going to go to my team and employee information. Okay, and let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and turn off this chart. So this view shouldn't look terribly different than what you are currently seeing in your classic or old UI look. Okay, there's a couple things I just want to cover here before I actually build the chart, just so you can see, you know, some of the differences with the new UI. So you still have the option to change the rows on a page. Just looks a little bit different. You know, you can still change the rows on the page. You can still save your different reports and still have them available here. You can still share reports and share views of reports. All of that is still available. You can still set up your custom filters. Maybe you have 2 columns that you want to filter by. You can build custom filters. Nothing's changed with that. And you still have the ability to filter individual columns. So if I wanted to filter, you know, to not include employees, I want to see managers and admins or anybody except for employees, I could still filter by that. And but a lot of times you might want to filter multiple columns. So if I come over to this little, it looks like a filter, I have 3 tabs now. Once I click on that, I now have 3 tabs. I can set my columns. I could set the globally is like where you can group and filter by the employees and things like that. The column, now you have the ability to filter multiple columns. So I could maybe filter by manager and security profile or whatever you wanted to do here. And then of course you can do your custom columns also right from this screen. Okay, one more thing in this drop down here, you can still group your columns. You can sort ascending, descending. All of that is still available in each column. And there's 3 little dots here. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. When I click on these 3 dots, it opens up another window. From here, as you can tell, once I build this report, I'm actually going to use these save buttons. You can still save as, you can still save the view, you can still share the view. with others right from the screen. You can add your columns. You can still export. You can export the report, but with the charts now being added, you can also export a PDF of the charts. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And you can print also. Okay, and then there's a little arrow right here. So anytime you use the filter, here you can just refresh and it would update your data based on that filter.
Hey, Misty, I'm going to chime in since there's a question that came in that makes sense for you to talk about right now.
Okay.
How did you get rid of your charts from this view?
Yep, I'm definitely going to cover that. That's a great segue, which was the next thing I was about to get into. So here we have, I kind of skipped over this on purpose, but it looks like a little chart here. When I click on this, you see data only, and then you see charts only, and then charts and data. Sometimes you don't maybe want to see a chart every time you come into a report. You could still build the chart, but have this set as data only after you build a chart. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is go ahead and set this to be charts and data. And I've already built one chart that's going to show up, but I'm going to build a brand new one with you so you see how it works. So this is a chart based on employees by department. And like I said, if I could build this chart and then kind of toggle back to data only. The chart's still available for you to add to your dashboards, but you don't see it every time you come in here. Okay, so that's how you can toggle between charts and data, or you could always leave your charts up. Okay, but to add a new chart, you can have, for every report that you save, you can have 3 charts on the report itself. You can do as many saves of that report and have as many charts as you want tied to the report, but you can only have 3 charts on each saved version of that report. But to add a chart, click on the little dots, the 3 dots, and I'm going to do add chart. Okay, so right here at the top, you see there's quite a few options to pick from. This is my horizontal chart. Maybe I want a vertical chart. Maybe I want to compare data. I want a line chart so I can compare 2 sets of data. Maybe a pie chart, or maybe like a 9-box chart. You can have those kinds of things. We're just going to do a vertical chart for this next one. And the chart I want to build is, I want to see how many employees are assigned to each manager. So what I want to do is, I want to pull in my manager name. Okay. And now, depending on what I put in the category here, the options down here as far as what shows up could change. So just be aware of that. And also, the category, sometimes you can add multiple, depending on the type of chart that you've selected here. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to just want one set of data that I want to look at, but I could easily add another field here if I wanted to. Okay, and I want to just count, I just want a count of employees assigned to the manager. And then what do I want the chart to look like as far as the labels and categories and things? I'm just going to turn all 4 of them on. I've found, over using these charts and building them, the first 2 are usually a good place to start, but you could definitely turn all of them on if you wanted to. And the system's going to help you with trying to give you a naming convention, but I generally do find myself kind of editing this just a little bit. So I'll just do employees by manager. I don't, and then I'll go ahead and save that. And when I save it, the chart immediately appears. So from here, now I'm just going to kind of look at it. I can hover over it and see what this is. So this is telling me that Aaron has 17 employees that are assigned to him. okay? And maybe this is perfect. I want to go ahead and save my chart. So I'll go ahead and save my view here. And I'm going to save it under this basic employee report. That's fine. I could do a save as and save it as a whole new report if I wanted to by clicking on that three little dots. Now I could also share this view. So if you, if you have other company administrators or you allow your managers to see employee information, you could share these charts and this report with those users, but they only see who they have access to see. And but it just really prevents them from having to build, these charts. But as you can tell, it's easy to do. Maybe you want to save them some time. Okay, so you can definitely share those. You can make them your default. Okay, and now once I've saved that report and that chart, now what I want to do is I want to add this chart to my dashboard. And I'm just going to click my Beyond Pay logo. And I want to add it to, again, my dashboard tab. So on the My Dashboard tab, I told you that you can have different dashboard views, but I haven't told you about the number of charts that you can have on the dashboard. So each one of these views can have 6 charts. So I've got 5 already, so I could come up here and do Add Chart. Okay, if you do already have 6 charts, this is going to be grayed out. Okay, so if I go ahead and click Add Chart, so when you're adding a chart to the dashboard, it's important to remember which report you started from. So I know that I built that report from an employee information report. Okay, so I just type that in. You could also click on this icon and it would open up a list of reports that you can pick from. Okay, so I'm just going to type in, you can also do another search here. Okay, so there it is. And now I'm just going to click on it and apply. So because I have a bunch of different saved versions of that employee information, I have a bunch of reports to pick from. So I saved that chart under Basic Employee Report. When I click on that, the very bottom here, number of employees by manager. Or I think that was the one I created, but both of them. So now that I've added that, this is the report. This is that chart. And now if I needed to drill down to look at more granular detail, I could just click right in this chart and it would take me to, and I'll show you this, it would take me right to employee information and right to Aaron's employees and which department they're working in. Okay. And then again, I could further drill down into just Aaron's day services employees. As I'm drilling down, notice the data is changing. Easily, I can get back to the way it originally looked. All I have to do is come up here. There's a little, looks like a little pill icon, I think is what they're called. I can see the system is automatically putting those filters in for me, but I can get rid of them just simply by Xing things out. And now I'm back to everything. Okay. So with all of this being said, and this is that chart that I just built, that report that I just built, super simple report. You can do this with any report in the system. Okay, those charts are that easy to build to give you that insight that you guys need to have as far as managers, as far as admin to make business decisions. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and shift gears just a little bit. And part of what, we started things off with is we want to make it easy for your employees. I've shown you lots of cool things you can do as an administrator, but let's take a look from an employee's perspective on a mobile app. Okay, so I do have the ability to present the mobile app on my computer. And so I'm going to be logging in as Michael, a regular employee that has pretty basic access. They clock in, clock out on the mobile app. And but notice this is the mobile app. The employees can download the mobile app on an Android phone. They can download the mobile app on an iPhone. The mobile app does support biometrics, so fingerprints, logging in, facial recognition on iPhones, all supported with the mobile app. Also geofencing. Sometimes companies get a little nervous about allowing employees to clock in and clock out on a mobile device. Well, with geofencing, you could, set up addresses, like a location address or a company address. So the employee could only clock in or clock out if they're within a certain distance of that address. So again, this is the employee's interaction with the system in the demo company. Notice it looks really similar to what we were just looking at as the administrator, but it's all based on what the employee has the security rights to do on the device. And notice the device changed, everything kind of shifted around, the windows kind of shifted around, filled the screen. The employee just easily scrolls through here. Employee can do their benefit enrollment right from these screens, look at their paycheck, submit a life change event, put in sticky note reminders for themselves even. Okay, accrual balances, click on these words, it's going to bring me right to that time off request. But I still have, if you configure those favorites, as administrators, you do have likely have permissions to create and push out those favorites to your employees. And so once the employee just hovers over those favorites or that start widget, what you have configured here pops up, and then they just click the link. When I hover off of it, it goes away. Okay, employee still has their hamburger menu, all of those same fields that we were looking at earlier. It's just sized to a mobile. The My To-Do items here, when I click on the bell item here, My To-Do, my checklist, if it's time for, as a new employee, for me to do my new employee onboarding, I'll go ahead and go into this checklist. Really a nice feature of the system. These are those onboarding steps that the employee would complete. Okay, benefit enrollment all can be tied to the employee onboarding process also. Okay, all right. So Liz, did we get any really good questions?
Oh yeah. So one question that came through is, what's the difference between the dashboard and my favorites?
So let me flip back over really quick. So if I understand correctly, so my favorites is under the hamburger menu is the star. Okay, so my favorites you could get to by clicking on the hamburger menu and going into the star. Okay, these are really the same fields as what's showing on the dashboard. So that the favorites is not really the dashboard, it's something that you can add to the dashboard.
And then the My Dashboard tab up at the top, is that a different field too, or what does that show for you?
So the home is, we would configure the home tab here under the new UI dashboard. In security, we have the ability to turn on these tabs going across the top. And my dashboard is a field that can be turned on in the new UI dashboard setup, as well as in security, where managers or admins could add charts for every module. So my dashboard here allows you to add really any chart to this dashboard, okay? Where these tabs going across the top are more modular based. So reports for payroll can be added to the payroll tab. Reports related to HR could be added to the HR. Where my dashboard here allows you to add any of those charts to this dashboard tab. And again, you know, every user kind of has a little bit of different tabs, you know, that you show to them. You know, some users only have home, okay, or some users may only have home and payroll. So, so again, these are all configurable in the new UI dashboard profile as well as in security. Mm-hmm. Which we're going to be doing some more webinars on those.
Thank you. And then how long does it take to transition onto the new look?
So I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. Some companies have already kind of started rolling out the new UI. Other companies have completely started rolling out the new UI. And then there's some other companies that have not started at all rolling out the new UI. So depending on where you are, you know, if you've started rolling it out, and you know, it won't take as long. You know, but if you've not started at all, then there's some configuration that we would need to do, such as setting up, you know, your workflows. That is something that would definitely have to be configured based on how you guys want your workflows to happen. And just a refresher on that, what I mean by workflows is when an employee does something like request time off or submit a timesheet or submit an address change, like who would be the approver of that? That's what I mean by the workflow. So we would just need to talk with you about some of that and build some of that out. That's the most time-consuming part, mostly at this point. So, you know, just coordinating those phone calls and getting that built out. You know, it is a priority to us to get everybody rolled out. So, you know, a couple of weeks, I would say, you know, maybe even less than that to roll it out from start.
Perfect.
And the nice thing also, if you start using this now, there's no cost to roll it out.
Right.
Okay.
Another question is, how do I find my saved reports in the new UI?
Okay. Great question. This is something that was not available until this past release. So if I click on this hamburger menu, well, first of all, if I wanted to create a shortcut, I could. You could create under my information, you could have my saved reports, okay? But they are now located in the new UI under the single person icon here. And if I click on now my reports, you can now see my saved reports. So all of those charts and all of those reports that I've built, they're all going to be saved under here. So that compliance, anything compliance related or really anything that I've saved, I can see here.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Well, I just want to, you know, again, thank you guys, you know, for joining. This is a really important topic. Definitely put that April 30th date on your calendar. Stay tuned for more webinars, more recordings, more information, more emails about this, go to our website, go ahead and get things rolling, so you can continue to use that toggle button until April the 30th. And you can also contact your CSR if you're interested in rolling things out and you don't want to have to go to our website. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.